anyways, come into a comfortable seated position. You can cross one leg in front of the other. If you're familiar with half or full lotus and that's more comfortable for you and you want to begin your practice that way, that's great. If you're a little more limited, you can sit on top of a block, on top of a blanket, bolster, or if you happen to have an extra rolled up mat, sometimes that's nice too. So there are some props that will be used today. I recommend the yoga block if you have one. If not, again, you can use a rolled up mat. You can also use a rolled up towel, a rolled up blanket. So if you don't have those things, obviously go ahead and find them, and then you can come back to us when you're ready. So we'll again find our comfortable seated position. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable to do that. Obviously you can open them at any time to check in with what we're doing here, and I'll be demonstrating and leading you through the practice. So again, as you're ready, just close the eyes, start to bring your focus inward. Just begin to notice. This is one of the main components of the practice of yoga that we aim for, is just to be present, to pay attention to our experience. And ultimately this is what yoga is all about, right? It's not about the fancy poses or getting to touch your foot to your head or anything like that. Those are just fun things that arise from our practice of awareness, right? And so as you're just tuning in, notice what comes up for you, what you feel or sense in your body, any thoughts that you have going on in your mind, or anything that's just stirring up maybe the space around you. You can notice the sounds, the feeling of the wind or your air conditioning or whatever it is that you're feeling or sensing in your body, on your skin. Notice with your eyes closed if there's any colors or any shapes that you see, any smell or any taste. So just becoming present. Take advantage of these energies of interaction. Our senses help us to engage with the world, the universe around us. And yoga is really all about connection. And so hopefully through today's practice you can deepen your connection to yourself and to the universe around you in some way. When you're ready, just lightly touch the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth behind your front two teeth. And so we'll begin to actually just notice that specific sensation. Another component of the practice of yoga we're going to talk about today is the direction of our attention, our focus, right? Sometimes we call that the drishti. And this allows us to just, again, practice, right? So we're not expecting anything from ourselves, but really just going back to what we can bring our attention to, what we can focus on in any moment. As you notice the tip of the tongue touching the roof of the mouth, you can paint a dot there. Just becoming aware of that space for a moment. And then guiding your attention to the back of the roof of the mouth, the area where the roof of the mouth and the throat meet. It's actually the junction of our brain and our spine, you can think of. I'm simplifying that a little bit. It's also the junction of our skull as it sits on top of the spine, right? So a little more esoterically, this relates to the connection between our conscious self and our physical self. And then notice how you relate to the earth, feeling the base of the pelvis, noticing your sitting bones, or maybe you're sitting on top of your prop, right? So notice that, but feel the connection. Gravity is a force that's always working on us. It's actually the earth holding us to it, we can think of, right? So we're supported, we're actually nurtured by this energy of gravity. Oftentimes, especially as we talk about posture and work in posture, we kind of think of gravity as the enemy, right? It's what we're fighting. But really without it, we would have nothing to grow from. And so just take a moment again, feel your sitting bones, which are the two bony knobs at the base of the pelvis. I talk about these spaces a lot in the practice. And so it's just helpful to kind of notice how you feel that space. You might notice more weight on one side or the other, so if it helps you can kind of shift a little bit back and forth, just aiming for a feeling of balance, meaning that there's equal weight on both sides. And you can also begin to just think of your pelvis as kind of the foundation of your physical body. So we can imagine it or visualize it shaped like a bowl, and our sitting bones are at the bottom of the bowl. There's another very important point that I talk about a lot in the practice at the center of the bottom of the bowl. We call this point Mula Bandha, the root of the body. This is where Muladhara chakra exists. So just, again, in your mind, if you can, paint a dot there, right between the sitting bones, at the bottom center point of the bowl. And again, imagine that this point is what ties us to the earth. It helps us to stay grounded, to stay connected within our physical existence. Finally, begin to deepen your breath. So you're breathing in through the nose, and we'll just breathe out through the mouth with a soft sigh. And you can do that twice more. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Very simple breathing practice today. So now as you breathe in and out through the nose, see if you can maintain that slight whispering sound or that sighing sound. We call this the Ujjayi pranayama. Okay, and with our breath, we'll do a little visualization. So remember those 2 points, the back of the roof of the mouth or the center of the skull space right at the top of our spine, the base of the pelvis right at the bottom, in the center. So paint a line between those 2 points. This is a very helpful visualization as we do our breath practice. It's also an amazing meditation to do anytime you need to feel centered. This line actually represents the anatomical center of our body or of our torso. So everything that we work in our posture, in our practice, as we balance, we're actually aiming to balance from this space that is naturally balanced within us. A few more breaths here just as we, again, get really centered. This will help to support you through the different active movements, the dynamic aspect of our practice a little bit later. As you visualize that line, you can even imagine your breath flowing through it. So as you inhale, it's as though the breath is flowing down, like gravity is just drawing your breath to the root. As you exhale, you might notice, again, the tendency of the breath to be pushed or lifted back out. You can, again, focus to the back of the soft palate as a nice place to direct the breath on the exhale. So now take your time, taking about 5 rounds of this breath. Inhaling, you can, again, imagine the breath flowing down, just noticing however far it goes. Exhaling, observe the breath flowing up. So again, as we practice the different postures today, it's less about attainment, it's less about perfection in what we do, and more really about being observant, being present to whatever arises, right? We're actually connected to this whole universe around us. This is one main aspect of our practice and of the practice of Kriya Yoga, right? We actually acknowledge that we're a part of the bigger picture. And that's an important acknowledgement so that we, again, don't isolate ourselves, we don't disintegrate or limit ourselves from this experience. And so hopefully, again, today you can make some connections within that will help to support you as you connect to the world and the universe around you. If there's anything else that you want to focus in on in your practice, any qualities, any attitudes or energies that you'd like to embody or bring into your week or your day or even just this moment, you can acknowledge that now. As you breathe in, you can actually imagine as you bring in oxygen to your body, to your cells, you're actually bringing that quality to the present, to this realm. And if you don't know why you're here, that's okay too, because you're here for a reason. You're still connected. Right? So you can just go with the flow, see what comes up. Now as you exhale, you'll again maybe remind yourself to focus back to the top of the spine, the back of soft palate. As you next inhale, gently open your eyes.